Boom. Uh, Here we are. Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, and it's pure chaos here in the barn. But welcome everybody. Whoops, let me here I'll go to that for I don't know what let me see. Yeah, let's see. Give me a second. We'll stick with that. We'll see how long it stays there. How's everybody doing? It's the weekly live stream. I've got some housekeeping before I start doing some shout outs and all that good stuff. Number one, there will be no live stream next week, which is because I'm going to be in the weeds in Florida at this event, producing and doing my thing. And the following week is a big question mark that would normally um, so the 23rd, definitely not. The following week is also a question mark. I think we're okay on that one. We'll double check. And then you'll see some stuff up on the YouTube channel. But Camera Flask is getting pushed to Wednesday, June 19th. So, kind of in the middle of the month, it's just scheduling conflicts with me going to Cine Gear in LA, and then the following week there's a conflict um, with Caleb. So we're gonna do it on the 19th. Brad, how are you? DJ, good to see you. Brandon, it's been a long time. Kind of crazy. And here we go. So DJ's out for a run, but trying to listen. Awesome. Brandon is watching from a restaurant in Pike's Market, Seattle. Why do you're on vacation? You shouldn't do that to yourself, Brandon. It's okay. I appreciate it, but it was great to have lunch with you and Britt yesterday and to walk around a little. Again, sorry I didn't have more time to spend with both of you. Just this week leading up to going out of town is a little bonkers. I'm going to do the standard can you see and hear me? I'm guessing yes. If you can't, we're in trouble. I'm seeing comments and reactions come up here. So I'm hoping you can hear me loud and clear and the picture is fine. You'll notice that I'm in sort of a different environment right now. It's the same environment. If I move this background here, this panoramic background from Unfrodo, it's the same thing. But I am in the process and should be done by end of today shooting my first, I'll call it my first sponsored video where I'm creating content for a sponsor on the channel. I'm going to be doing something having to do with setting and getting correct exposure using a gray balance card from Calibrite. And these charts may look familiar to you, but previously you would have seen them branded as X-Rite. Some of the key people from X-Rite went and started Calibrite, but they still work in partnership with X-Rite. So things like these color checker targets or charts and stuff like this, these calibration tools for monitors, those are now under the Calibrite name and brand. And I'm going to do a series of videos over the next 12 months related to using these tools. But the first one's going to be on using a gray balance card and getting correct exposure using um, a waveform monitor, using a histogram. And I'm going to talk about both of those things in the video. So, yeah, there we go. So let's see what we've got. Seeing the comments come through and just, hey, David, good to have you here. Thaddeus, everybody who's shown up. And we'll do our thing. I think I said hi to Brad already. As always, an at the C47 for a topic that you want to bring up and start to have a conversation on. And it's gonna be a fast, I'm gonna say 45. I do have a hard out today because I have a meeting about a potential project at 4 p.m. Pacific. I can't shift that. I'm trying to slot everything in this week before I get on the aeroplane on Friday to fly out to the East Coast and head for hot and humid Florida. So it's all good. It's just a lot of stuff. Yesterday, by the way, um, I shot 7 episodes of the Daily Drop in about a 4 hour period of time. And I've yet to edit all of them, but they're all loaded up and ready to go. So I also have to get tomorrow's episode done, shoot this one for Calibrite. And this is the last one that I'm doing as part of this and next week, all the way through Friday. Friday's episode, by the way, that's May 24th, is the 200th episode of the Daily Drop. And I have some special news on that day, which I think is exciting. And get your cameras out because there's going to be a very short, it's a Friday to a Thursday contest, but there may be a prize involved. So tune in to that 200th episode on May 24th to find out more about that. But it's going to be a quick one. And I foresee more of these coming up in the future where we're going to be doing contests and giveaways. I mentioned something to Brandon at lunch yesterday about it, but I'm going to tell you to tune in on May 24th. That's Friday to find out. That'll be the 200th episode. And haven't edited it yet, but I've already shot it, and I'm looking forward to that. So it's there's going to be an email. You've maybe heard of it before, challenge at the c47.com, but until that episode, you will not know the details. And one person who is in the U.S. Can win a prize. I think it's a pretty good one. I picked it, and I'm excited about it. And I think we're going to be able to do this monthly. So yeah, all good. All right, so let's get into this week. Again, somewhere around 45 or 50 after the hour, I'm going to cut out and get ready for this other meeting. But I'm here for you and I'm ready. And Brandon, don't send any. I'm looking at your comment right now. Don't send any emails right now. But part of the goal here is to grow the channel, and don't worry. I will remember the OGs and everybody who has been here since the beginning. But it is supposed to be a community, but a growing community where more people are learning, more people are sharing information, and yeah. So there we go. All right, Brad's coming in strong. We've got at the C47 interesting launches incoming next few months. So let's revisit this question. When would you consider switching systems? What features in the current generations of cameras could cause you to switch? There we go. 200th episode featuring chat favorite Grumpy Penguin. I hope. Come on, Ben McKnights. I haven't seen the Grumpy Penguin in a while. I think he's working on a car somewhere, and that's life. But I hope the Grumpy Penguin comes back because we need the Grumpy Penguin. 360 grad, what's up? Where's 360 grad? Unless I'm missing something and it's rebranded. So, small brown fox. We have our troublemakers. We like them here. And I hope they make an appearance in the near future. And if you're in the background watching, let us know. That would be great. All right. Back to you, Brad. Sorry about that. There's a little aside there with Grumpy Penguin. I saw it jump out of the page. When would you consider switching systems? What features in the current generations of cameras could cause you to switch? Okay, I'm assuming that's a question for me and everybody else who's here on the live stream. And, one of the things I will say is there are definitely sort of the tried and true who come to the live stream every week while it's happening, but there's also, somewhere between 10 to 20 times that amount of people, not huge numbers, but numbers that will watch on the replay. So feel free when you do that to make comments and have reactions to the questions that come up. It's not necessarily that it just has to be live. But I also invite everybody who's in here right now to answer, Brad, and I'll do my best to give you at least somewhat of an answer in terms of how I feel about it. I'm going to go back to this. I've gone back to it many times. There's really no such thing now as a horrible camera. If it's been made in the last, especially 12 to 18 months, pretty much everything that's coming to market, whether it's a mirrorless camera, digital cinema camera, what have you, usually we'll have 10-bit 422 and will also have some sort of log recording and wide gamut color information, recording. So from that standpoint, that's sort of a baseline. I'm expecting to see new cameras in the next little while. And while I don't know exactly what those cameras are, and I'm not currently under any NDA for any of the cameras, there's definitely some murmurs of cameras coming to market soon. I'm hoping some of that will happen in and around Cine Gear, but if it's a little bit later than that, then so be it. We have also IBC in the fall. Those are kind of our bookmarked on one side of summer and the other shows as far as the way I look at it. So, let's talk about where we are and what that is. So, Brandon says, I just purchased a small rig tripod and have to say it is the most not worth it piece of gear I've purchased in a very, very long time. Um, has carbon fiber and metal, but everything clamping is plastic. Sad face. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Well, good to hear that feedback. I'm hoping that the one that was co-designed with Potato Jet doesn't have those issues. It hasn't come to market yet. And sorry, I thought, Brandon, you were answering the Brad question, but totally valid and great to have in the chat there. I guess, Brad, I would ask you the same question and want to know what your answer is. For me, I'm picking cameras based on application. What is it that I'm trying to do? So sometimes those are cameras that I'm considering buying, and then other times they're cameras that I'm just considering or I'm going to rent. So in the case of the content I'm creating daily on this channel, whether it's the daily drop or it's a live stream, for me, the right solution at this time for a number of reasons are Sony cameras. And the key one, besides the fact that cameras like the FX30 and the A7C II are relatively cost effective, and there are a lot of lens solutions out there from not just Sony but other manufacturers. The key one is autofocus, and I think that we'll start to see AF improve considerably from different manufacturers. If you've read the most recent article about the R1 flagship mirrorless camera from Canon that they are now talking about openly and saying is coming this year, there is a lot of focus in there related to, I guess, pun intended, autofocus. And that's definitely something, to consider. And there are not a huge number, if we're talking about Canon right now, of digital cinema cameras in their lineup that support natively RF lenses, which are a leap forward and programmable, beautiful glass, great quality. But I'm not privy to what's coming. But you have the C70, but that's a super 35 millimeter based camera system with an RF mount. So my expectation is we're going to see something, I hope sometime this year, that is going to kind of target more that C500 Mark II market. Will be interesting to see what the form factor, body size is going to be like. And I'm hoping for a Sony-like improvement when it comes to autofocus with all of the new cameras that Canon has coming to market. But that's why I'm using Sony for this. Now, for other projects, um, sometimes it's client specified, sometimes it's not, but we're going to this event that I'm doing. Those are going to be Sony Venice 2s and Sony FR7s, which are their full frame PTZ cameras. And it's going to be combinations of lenses for the FR7s. It's going to be Sony glass for the Venice 2s. I've mentioned this before. It's going to be the 25 to 1000 Duvo DUVO lenses from Fujinon. They're big and they are versatile, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I don't know if there's in my answer something that relates to Brad switching. It's more about, if I'm considering what my next digital cinema camera is going to be. The last digital cinema camera that I invested in, and I'm not including mirrorless cameras like the XH2S from Fujinon or Fuji, the FX30 and the A7 C2 from Sony, but digital cinema cameras that have built-in XLRs and NDs, and they're sort of what we would consider they're all mirrorless cameras, but a digital cinema camera, was the C200. So it took me a long time to get to that, and so for me, what I am looking for is something that is relatively compact, has all of those features built into it, has an unbelievably rock solid AF system, and is relatively cost effective. Because I know that the next time I invest in digital cinema cameras, it's going to be two bodies. And that's because the vast majority of the work that I do is two camera work. So I want to have those two bodies match, and I've tried to stay pretty consistent with that over time. So, we'll see. I don't know what Panasonic has cooking. I've heard some rumors, but I don't know what the camera is. And again, News Shooter posted something about a patented box-based camera, removable handle. Not that that's a new concept. So we'll see where things go, but I'm hoping that everybody steps up their AF game, and the more competition we have in that space for us, the better in terms of choices. So we all win. Okay, let's see what we got here. Got some comments on Brandon's thing about the tripod. Sorry to blow up old small rig, but oof. To help answer Brad's question, I bounced around, and like I said, completely depends on the project. Sony, if I want more shooting gigs. Why? Because people are asking for Sony, Brandon? That's a question. Brad says, for me, having invested in APS-C Sony glass, I'm relatively free if I decide to go full frame. Started as a Canon photo guy in for the 2010s, jumped to Sony when A6400 took over. So I guess, Brad, the question for you is, what are you hoping for? What are you looking for in a camera system? Are you looking to go full frame, stay crop sensor, if we want to call it that, Super 35? I'd like to hear. All right. Brandon says, one more thing nobody talks about is the amount of just being able to do more with S35 based systems. If you're a solo operator, having S35 under your belt really empowers you to use good gear for cheaper. Yeah, I'd say there's some truth to that. What I really like, and the trend that I'm seeing, is with certain megapixel cameras, we're seeing the ability to have that camera work in both full frame and in a Super 35 mode. So that flexibility I really like in the camera. It gives me some choices. I do find that if I'm traveling, I tend to, even though I prefer the FX30 body and what that gives me, I prefer to take the A7C2 because it is a full frame camera that I can use in both full frame and S35. Just gives me more flexibility across the board. So I'd like to see that trend continue. Um, Something from Nikon slash Red, I don't know. To me, in my mind, it's a little early for us to be seeing that, DJ. I think we're going to be starting to see some things that are more solid based on that marriage. At the earliest, I would say IBC, but my guess is we're not seeing stuff until 2025 from them. I might be wrong about that. Biggest draw of Panasonic currently is embrace of open gate and lately decent autofocus. Yeah, decent, but quite frankly, Sony and then Canon are the only two companies that I have found to date that, knowing the camera systems, if you know them and you're kind of used to how they work, being really reliant upon and trusting the AF system. And I would say that that top spot goes to Sony. There have been times where I've been shooting with these cameras with a lens that's set to an f1.4, and it's rock solid when it comes to AF and the eye detection. They've just got that formula down. They figured that out. So we'll see. Um, Brad says Sony Infinite. Yeah, their variable electronic ND system is amazing. And recent Burano IR black issues worries me for FX6 Mark II. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that one's going to be a question mark, and I was surprised by that after all of these years, and the fact that hot mirrors and, IR pollution and having filters to handle that was a big thing. But we'll see how it all goes. Brandon says, would you say that there is going to be a bubble burst, in quotes, on video gear in general? I feel like we're seeing a downtrend in the mass output of cameras, etc. This is good, in my humble opinion. Um, there's a couple of things going on, and I'll address the main one, which is the industry is hurting, and hurting bad right now. So the reality is that because of the strikes, not so much COVID, I mean, that definitely was a hit and a big hit when it happened, but the strikes, and those being ratified at the end of 2023, there was sort of this false perception that starting on January 1st, or let's just be kind and say January 15th or 30th of 2024, that everything was going to bounce back. Productions were going to start up again, rental houses were going to be busy, all of that stuff. And that is not even close to the truth. And so that means that manufacturers are probably hesitating to a degree in terms of announcing and releasing new products. Rental houses are one of the big drivers of business for a lot of manufacturers. You wouldn't think so necessarily, but when you think about that market, um, especially when it comes to television and film production, most of that stuff, and I mean movies, obviously, not actual film, most of that stuff goes through rental houses. So if rental houses are not busy and people are not renting equipment because productions aren't happening, then it affects everybody in the industry. And I can tell you that it has had a huge, I would say pretty huge negative effect on me in terms of creating content for clients, because there's just this perpetual hesitation to spend money on marketing and educational materials because people aren't selling stuff. So that's the truth of it. So we'll see if it's really a bubble burst, in quotes, or if it's more of a reaction to what's happening with the industry. If the strikes don't happen at the end of July, which it seems like they won't, then I think we have a good opportunity to start moving back into rental houses being busy again, productions really ramping up, and there being a lot of things like that. So I think there's a lot of different components there, that can happen. I've had some pretty interesting conversations with people about these types of things and the types of work that they're doing and how union can affect that or not. So there you go. I hope that answered that question. But I think it's going to get busier again, and I think we're going to see more cameras and things like that. And look, it's perpetual. We live in a consumer based, uh, yeah, you know what I mean. It's messy out there. All right. Um, Brandon said, this is coming from a person who shot on the C500 Mark II and sold it for 3 Sony F55s. That's interesting because it actually allowed me to have a higher quality of production. Because you had 3 cameras and so you could do that, or because of something else? I'm interested in that. Ben says, why did I skip the C70 as a C200 upgrade? There weren't really enough things happening production wise at the time of that camera's release. and the subsequent, I'm going to say, year or so, that really justified me looking at investing in a different digital cinema camera at the time. And while I've used the C70, in fact, we used it at length when I produced the R5C training videos. That was sort of our inception cameras, the behind the scenes cameras that we were using to create all of the content. And then the R5C was being used to create the hero footage and everything else. It just wasn't the right time. And I also, while interested in the extender and the optics that you could not, it's really an optic that extends your field of view, so you're getting close to full frame, and I like the idea of that. It just didn't tick off enough boxes for me. If I'm going to go into a digital cinema camera as opposed to a mirrorless camera, I really would like to see full-sized XLR inputs. I'd like to see, some of the, we call it the big boy stuff. And the C70 is a great camera, still is, but just wasn't the right one for an owner operator situation for me. David says, I'm happy I went with Sony, have a selection of cine and mirrorless bodies plus G lenses and Zeiss primes. Awesome. New topic, Brad's bringing it in. My film tools rep is getting inundated by young hipsters searching for fad point and shoots from the past. It's wild what the X105 and 6 demand is driving in the market. It sure is. I'm interested to find out if those point and shoots are things like the Stylus Epic and Minolta CLEs and things like that, or it's something else. I have a lot of various types of film cameras, medium format, twin reflex, small compact, rangefinder style. You get the idea. So I don't know. We'll see. I have an X105 and I love it. Um, Not feeling compelled, excuse me, to upgrade to the 6, while there are definitely some upgrades in the camera. The 5 fits me just fine. It's that camera I can take with me anywhere, and it's the camera I would use for photography. In fact, when I go to Florida, um, I did an episode which is going to air where I talk about bringing the A7C2. I probably still will bring the body with me, but it's really, the X105 is what's going to be my camera if it's not the iPhone. All right. Understood, Brandon, on your F55 comment. And there you go. Brad says recently he's getting demand for Canon G series type point and shoots. Interesting. Yeah. Look, there you go. Rise of the DTLR. Wait, what's the T? Am I missing something, DJ? Trust me, the head is mush right now. Um, the the to do list is long, and I'm chipping away at it, but the hours are getting less and less. And I'm looking at it right now. We are about 3:30 p.m. Pacific time on a Wednesday. I leave. Um, yes, I'm tracking now. Um, I am. I'm tracking. I'm seeing the thing happen. I'm with you. So the to-do list is long, and I'm getting on an airplane on Friday, heading to the airport, I don't know, 9 a.m. Thankfully it's not the 6 a.m. flight. So I fly out, but it's a long day because I'm going through Atlanta and then switching and then going down to Florida. And it is what it is. There you go. Add the turret lens swap. There you go. We'll mod we'll mod a medium format twins lens reflex camera with the turret lenses and see what happens. Um, yes, Brad, all it takes is a random famous creator, streamer, TikToker to use some random point and shoot and then cause mad rushes to buy them. Yeah, you know, this historically has always been a problem. Somebody who's a celebrity wears something and then everybody has to have it. So people are willing to spend $300 on a baseball cap. I'm not doing that. I'd rather buy scotch. Okay, so let's get some other things going here. I'm going to go for about another 15 minutes or so, and then I'm probably going to wrap it up. Again, just housekeeping wise, if you weren't here at the top of the show, no live stream next week. I'll continue to have daily drops all through my business trip, we'll call it, and it is a business trip. And no live stream next week. I think the following week there will be one, and then there's going to be another week off at the beginning of June. There's just a lot of things happening with Cine Gear coming up, and that's talking to some of the things that we are discussing right now, which is, are we going to see some more kit? And again, on Wednesday, June 19th, we're going to do Camera and Flask, because that, scheduling wise, is when myself, Ben Barden, and Caleb Pike can all be here or where they are, and I'm doing the live stream. And that's, I think, where we'll talk about all of the things that have to do with Cine Gear and any announcements that were made. And I think it'll be fun to have that discussion. We may have another live stream before that, just this weekly one, where we chat about that a little bit, but it's always great when we get the Cameron Flask crew together and we sort of have our different perspectives on everything. All right, so Brad has taken the lead on questions today. Let's get some other things going here. And Brad, I say you took the lead, but Brandon's definitely in the mix here. And what makes the live stream really move forward is not me trying to find things to talk about, but you bringing up topics that are the basis of our conversations. So, um, yeah. So right now I sort of have this space set up for these videos, or this one video I'm going to be doing for Calibrite, which is a daily drop. And it's set up right now. So just while I'm waiting for somebody else to make a comment, my key light is now set to and metered to 6500 Kelvin, and that's the way I have my camera set up. The white point on this monitor, unless I change it, is 6500 D65, so it'll just make it a little easier. There will be some shifts when you see the picture on here. We'll get out of here for now. When you look at this and I turn off the waveform monitor, it's very inception-y. So I very specifically, I can talk about this right now because nothing's come up on the chat. I very specifically made the decision that when I open up the episode, I may have the inception happening here on the wide, but I'm very quickly setting up these different pages where there's just a faint transparency of me, so you can see something happening in the background, but we can focus on something like the waveform monitor. This one's obviously set up for Luma. I think I have, let me see, my pages here. I've been creating these different pages for this. So this one I think is set up for, I have one in here for a histogram, so I just have to find that, and then I can set that up. So this is the latest version of Page OS, and I can go in and change some stuff in here, but I also set up a page here, which is kind of a histogram, a vector scope, and a waveform monitor. And then I think what I have to do here is I have to change this tool. So I'll go over here under my vector scope. I'm going to get rid of this. Might as well do this. I need to get it done anyway. And add a new tool. I'm going to go in here and set up just a straight histogram and add that to the page. And then you go in here and basically I'm going to do a full screen on that histogram, change the opacity of me so that I'm a little darker in the frame, and Bob's your uncle. So that's kind of what that one is. So you'll flip through here and I'll have the different tools. It's also pretty cool with the new Page OS. It's very easy to move a page, so I can move that over. And that way, when I'm going between these different pages, I'll go waveform, I can go to histogram, I can go to all three tools here if I want to. That's just if I'm using two monitors. And then I have my main page. So if I'm up here, what I can do is talk about, a chart, and then open that up. And if I take out, this grayscale chart from Calibrite, then I can hold that up and talk about sort of exposing for different settings. I'm also going to use the monitor and control app for the camera over there, so that I can, for the FX30, so I can control my picture settings in there. So I can change the picture profile to go from Rec 709 setup in terms of gamma and gamut, and I can switch over to log and then talk about that in terms of usability. So I'm going to do that all in real time when I create the video. And I will talk, briefly about other charts or targets, but really the focus on this one is using an 18% or middle gray card to set exposure on your camera system, and then talking about some considerations when you're switching between, again, like a Rec 709 setup on your camera as opposed to shooting in log. See what it looks like when you turn a LUT on and what happens over here. So I'm sending just a straight signal to this. This is not adding LUTs with the monitor or anything like that. There you go. All right. Yeah, the feature in Resolve to draw a box around the color checker to do a basic grade can be cool. And when you start getting into multiple cameras and things like that, and DJ can maybe talk to this if he's using the same targets or charts, but it can get a little tricky depending on the lighting, the angle in which the camera is capturing that shot of the charts. But it is consistently on every shoot that we do, that we shoot, what I call charts in tone, where we're shooting a color chart, and we're also shooting a grayscale chart, and that's good information to give to people in post. So there you go. Brad says, with X-Rite changing to Calibrite, I hope you also do a video discussing the care and handling of reference charts, also highlighting their warranted period of accuracy and helping set expectations. Yeah, I should talk about that in the future. I mean, what happened, if you don't know, is there were a group of people who worked at X-Rite, and they're the ones that started Calibrite, but there's still a marriage between the two companies. So all of these targets and charts are, they're basically made by X-Rite to those specifications. So you're still getting that same quality you were getting before. Making accurate charts is not easy. It's an expensive proposition to make those chip charts. And of course, the first thing that you don't want to do is get your fingers on the chips, because there's oils in our little doodads, and that can help ruin them. Obviously, very humid locations and stuff like that. These are not designed to be IP65 rated. Be great if they were, but it's just not the truth there. DJ says, have you tried the Nobe Omniscope for your scopes and such? I haven't. It's very programmable via Stream Deck, so you can call up all sorts of monitor presets and such. I haven't. It's not really my world, but there you go. Yeah, the charts I'm using are the Calibrite ones, which used to be branded X-Rite. So you've got the color checker video. You've got the grayscale version of that, the little passport, color checker passport video 2, which has your little, super black, your middle gray, and your white, and then your color chart, and then flip that over, and you've also got your classic. Photographers like to use this white balance card, all that kind of stuff. So this can travel with anybody. And there is actually, for certain charts, not like the gray balance one, but for the color charts, there's actually a sale right now. The Calibrate's running from May and June, 25% off. And you don't have to go to their website for that. You just go to like B&H and you can check that out. There we go. All right. So what else do we got? We got a few more minutes here, and then I'm gonna reset for things. But this is the world that I'm in. I've got after this 2 meetings, and then I've got to shoot this video. Probably do the post on that tomorrow, and then also crank out one of the daily drops, which is already shot, but I need to finish editing it. And yeah, so there you go. So what else do we want to talk about? I got a few more minutes here, and I'm happy to bring up another topic. I think we have enough time to do that. And then it's back to getting content created and a to-do list, some of which is the normal, family stuff, going out of town for a week, and some of which is just just stuff getting ready for this production that's coming up, which is going to be a lot. In fact, tomorrow we have about 2.5 hours worth of meetings as we're leading up, and it's amazing. We've sort of spent a month putting together the team behind this event and also the technical side of it and working that out. I feel like we're in as good a place as we can be with that right now. There's some things happening behind the scenes with some tests with switchers and other things that are going to get wrapped up by Friday, just to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. And what we're really focused on right now is the scheduling side of things, so that we make sure that we are where we need to be and we are ready for that, and that we can do not only setup but rehearsals and then the actual event. DJ says, yeah, there's an interesting thing where Calibrite has only published the transform numbers for their photo checker to lab color models. So I know a couple of color science folks who are obsessed with, and then I lost the rest. Seeing footage with that chart so they can build camera transform LUTs. Interesting. Hmm. So you're saying with this chip chart as opposed to the color checker video one, DJ? Is that what you're saying? Love to hear more about that. Maybe that's an offload when I get back from my trip. I'm going to be gone all next week, so I don't think my feeble little mind has enough room right now to take in any more. But when I get back, I'll be open for that. Show G Productions coming in at the end of the stream. Question for video recording: what criteria do you use to determine what SD card video speed class to purchase, V30 versus V60 versus V90? Thank you. I don't know if I have a definitive here is the answer. Um, Very interesting, DJ. But Shoji, I would say, you're definitely want to go with the camera manufacturer's recommendations in terms of speed. It is a little tricky because the way that a V60 or V6, V90 or V30 is classified, there's still variation in terms of read write speed and stuff like that. So you can say you're a V60, but there could be 3 different V60 cards and they all have slightly different data rates. So you kind of have to pour into the camera manufacturer's recommendations, and a lot of that is oftentimes you could use a V60 card, for instance, for 95% of the recording or 98% of the recording features of a camera, but there's that one or two. There's a one or two little recording options in there, usually for high resolution, high data rate, off-speed recording, where you might need a faster card. So, oftentimes if you're not somebody who overcranks and shoots in RAW, for instance, and things like that, you may be able to just use a V30 or a V60 card in your camera and use that for days and save a lot of money on your media. But it really does depend on the camera, the recording options in that camera, and that's why I can't really give you a definitive answer besides manufacturer recommendations and then doing a little sleuthing on the interwebs. Okay. Is that what we've got? I don't know. I feel like we're in that place, and hopefully some people who watch the replay have some feedback and input into some of the questions that have been created. I'm going to reset here for the call I have, the Zoom I have coming up. And I will say again next week, no live stream, but daily episodes of the Daily Drop. And those will just keep cranking out. And as a reminder, if you weren't here at the top of the show, the 200th episode of the Daily Drop is going to be a week from this Friday. So it'll be Friday, May 24th. And there's a contest that's going to be running from Friday, May 24th through Thursday, May 30th. And there is a prize for people who, unfortunately, and I say it in the episode, it's only for people in the US, including Hawaii and Alaska. um, I wish it was at least all of North America, and I'll check on that, but I've been told it's the US only. So I think it's a tariff and a VAT thing and all of that fun stuff. So there you go. Thank you for the well wishes on my upcoming trip, and I appreciate it. Please continue to engage and comment on the daily episodes. I try to answer virtually all of them, unless they are just sort of a very long winded, I want to say this kind of post, which are valid, and I leave those there. It's just sometimes they're so long and there's a thought process behind that. I think it's more just to share with viewers who are there than for me to necessarily go down the rabbit hole of, answering that and going back and forth, because there's so many things in there. I love the comments. I love the engagement. And, it's the best when you talk about your real life experiences and how those affect what we do in production. Talking to you, DJ Succotash, and people like that. And also when you have questions about the topic of that daily drop and things like that. So there you go. I'm out, and everybody, I'll be back. But check out the daily episodes and get ready for that 200th episode on Friday, May 24th. They post at 12:30 a.m. Pacific time. So there you go. Yapping is not bad, DJ. It's all good. Everybody, I got to head out. I'll talk to everybody soon. All the best, and see you on the other side.